The primary role of a manager or a team leader is to achieve results through people. That implies, therefore, that when the results aren't being achieved, if something has gone a little bit wrong, it's also the role of the manager or team leader to find out what's happening and to put things right. And that's where the performance improvement conversation comes into its own. I think on a scale between, at one end, a little bit of casual feedback, oh, that didn't go very well, why don't you do it like this instead? And at the other end of the scale, a formal disciplinary interview, the performance improvement conversation fits somewhere in the middle. It's a planned conversation that the manager has thought about in advance, at which the fact that there is a gap in performance is put forward. The manager and the employee explore what's going on, what the reasons for that gap is, and a plan is put into place to make sure that the performance gets to or gets back to where it should be. Now, here at 10 Steps Training, what we like to do is make things easy for people by giving them steps or stages to follow. So the 10 steps that I've put together for performance improvement conversations are: number one, give yourself the right to have the conversation. Too many managers that I've come across in my career either put it off, leave it too late, or go in way too harsh, way too soon, and make the situation a whole lot worse. Recognizing that having this conversation is part of your job and that the employee, your colleague, has the right to know what's happening, that's a really good start. The second step is to make sure you're very clear about what the gap is in performance. Not at this stage what the reasons are, just what is the gap between what should be happening and what is actually happening. And how do you know that? What have you seen? What have you measured? What have you heard that tells you that there is a gap? And the third step, once you've given yourself the right and you've got your evidence, is preparing for that conversation. Thinking about how and where and when you're going to have the conversation. Thinking about that individual employee, how they're likely to react. So that when you get to step number 4, getting off to the right start, you really are ready with the conversation. You've thought about the level of formality. You've thought about how you're going to introduce the subject. You've thought about how you're going to make it clear that we're having this conversation today because I've seen a dip in your performance. We need to get to the bottom of what's going on, and we need to put a plan into place to make sure we get it back to where it should be. If one of the main purposes of the conversation is to get to the bottom of what's going on, then step 5 is really about doing that. It's about asking great questions and then shutting up and listening to the answers. Exploring questions, probing questions. What is it exactly that's happening? Some employees will be very amenable, will know what's going on, and will comply straight away with the engage into the conversation. But just in case, step 6 is all about knowing how to stay in control. How to deal with some of those things, some of those barriers that some employees might throw up. It's not my fault, you're picking on me. This is so unfair, how very dare you, whatever it is. Just having the skills, having the tools in your kit bag to be able to deal with those things when they come up, and keep on track to find out what's going on and put a plan into place to put things right. And step number 7 is exactly that. It's about agreeing an improvement plan. And not just a vague, oh, all right, then we're agreed you'll try a bit harder, a specific plan that you commit to writing of what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, who's going to be involved, and how you'll know it's been successful. And you'll know it's been successful because you'll follow step 8. Step 8 is all about having put the plan into place, seeing it through, thinking about the review dates, thinking about the evidence that you'll collect, both you and your team member, to see that things are working. And step number 9, when things have worked, is about evidencing that, about signing it off, about putting the subject to bed so that things can, now they are back to normal, carry on as normal. And step number 10, should you need it, is all about what to do if the plan isn't working or hasn't worked. And that's all about knowing how and when to escalate the situation, when to get your HR team involved, or when to move on to more formal measures. So that's my quick summary of 10 steps that can really give any team leader or manager the confidence that they need to have successful performance improvement conversations. There's a much fuller course covering these 10 steps available on udemy.com for a mere £19.99. And there's also more hints and tips on the website, 10stepstraining.com, and also that I post on my YouTube channel and on Twitter. Thanks for listening to this video today. I hope it's given you some insight, some help into thinking how you can have those really useful performance management conversations. Thank you.